Fantastic. A very, very good afternoon to all our viewers and all our watchers across the internet and on IndianTelevision.com. Good welcome to all of you in the audience as well as to our panelists. Of course, you know our social media pages. It's ITV News with a Z. And also a big welcome to the great panelists and professionals who are on the virtual roundtable with us today. Hi, I'm Anil Banvari, the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the 20-year-old IndianTelevision.com group. I believe your investment in today's virtual VRT or virtual roundtable, as we call it, is going to be worth your time and your while. We will have some serious discussions, insights, and we'll also have a lot of fun. Remember, it's going to be fun as well. Ever since the lockdown and subsequent opening up thereafter, we've been bringing you online leaders and sharing the best processes on everything from OTT to airtime selling, to entrepreneurship, to retail, to online e-commerce, many more coming up in the next. This afternoon, we are delighted in partnership with leading OTT solutions provider, Axido. Axido helps the world's leading video service providers deliver and grow engaging video experiences. The company provides a combination of products and services needed to support customers at every stage of the video business journey, from strategy and conception through to delivery and post-launch optimization. Wow, with such credentials, we are honored to have them as a partner. Thank you, Team Axido, for enabling us to bring some technology and thought leaders together for this VRT or virtual roundtable. Throughout this VRT, we'll be speaking about how important is the user experience and interface in the success of an OTT service. Then we will speak in detail about how innovation plays a role in enabling customer stickiness and retention and beyond. Finally, we will understand how building a streaming service with the right flexible architecture, scalable one, right from the get-go is crucial to save a lot of heartburn later when we want to integrate upgrades to solutions for the services that vendors have given us, or if we want to integrate new solutions or services. A month or more ago, IndianTelevision.com conducted a study amongst leading Indian OTT service providers to understand the attitudes and hunger amongst Indian OTTs to keep on constantly moving the needle on their products to improve the consumer experience, to innovate, and to also invest in technology. That survey helped us to call out concerns that OTT tech leaders have, their priorities. Thus, it helped us distill the topics for today, as well as the discussion points for today's VRT. I would like to thank a few of the survey participants who have agreed to come on to this specific roundtable. Thank you, guys, for participating in that survey. The idea of this virtual roundtable is to help industry ruminate over these issues and hopefully help them build future-ready OTT services from here on. Our distinguished panelists today consist of, they're really great experts from different parts of the world. First, from the industry, we have Alok Majumdar, the technology head of the East India-based OTT platform Hoichoi, which just celebrated its anniversary with a fantastic gathering. It was a virtual gathering with a lot of talent and actors from the east of India. And they've just announced the launch of many more and scores of originals. Welcome, Alok. How are you this morning? Alok, are you there?
How are you, madam? Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm full of energy. I hope you guys are too. I hope to pass some of that energy on to you guys to energize you guys.
Yeah.
Then we have Dev Datta, the CCO of the Chief Creative Officer of EOR TV, a destination for those interested in premium stories relating to alternative sexuality, namely LGBT. EOR TV's mission is to germinate an acceptance for all societal communities by eliminating any kinds of biases based on gender stereotypes and sexual orientations. And its vision is to see the change happening, the change of preventing discrimination and prejudice against the hormonally challenged societal communities, thereby promoting peace, fraternity, equality, and brotherhood. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave, welcome. My pleasure to have you here. From Murray, we have Rohit Bapat, the GM technology of a company founded by two executives who were at one time with Network 18 and Viacom 18, Sai Kumar and Ajay Chako. And they launched this service that they have very early on to provide entertaining content to younger audiences, as well as to distribute the content that they create on their own platform and on premium OTT platforms globally. Welcome, Rohit.
Thank you, Anil.
My pleasure to have you here. Shahabuddin Sheikh, the CTO of All Balaji, a service that is reaching out to viewers in the heartlands and to those with an interest in massy local stories. It is one of the most successful subscription services in the country, and of course, behind it is one of the most recognized content creators in the country, Ekta Kapoor. Welcome, Shabadun.
Hi, thank you.
My pleasure to have you. Then we have Solanki, the head of product of SSK Osmosis, the company behind the successful Shilpa Shetty fitness app. I mean, she's 45. I know I shouldn't be speaking about a woman's age, but she's 45 and she's extremely fit. Soumik was telling me that they've got 4.5 million downloads of the app. The app is priced at $4.99 in India and $9.99 in the rest of the world. They've managed to get 50,000 daily active users. That's a great deal for something that people are paying so much for. And they have 500,000 monthly actives. And keeping the app stable is Soumik Solanki. Welcome, Soumik.
Thank you
Soumik,
for the
are you there?
introduction, Anil. Yeah, I'm there.
My pleasure. Great. Finally, there's Surya Mohanty, the CEO of Epicon, the streaming service from my friend Aditya Pitti and Anand Mahindra's Intent Media Network. They've got some great content on that platform, and I believe it's been doing very well ever since the pandemic started and ever since the opening up has also commenced. Welcome, Surya.
Thank you, Anil. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And from Maxido, we have the very charming Nikki Perugini, who's the UX and UI design director at the company. Welcome, Nikki.
Hello. Thank
Hello,
you
Nikki.
for having
Are you
me.
there? My pleasure. Then from Maxido, we have Nicholas Bjorkin, the director of innovation, all the way from Sweden. Welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you, Anil. Good to be here.
Our pleasure to have you here. Finally, we have Abhishek Sood, Axido's product director and regional head South Asia. Abhishek is stepping in for other guest, Angus Kirkwood, who couldn't be here thanks to a personal emergency he had back in London. He was really apologetic about not being able to be here, but I'm grateful that Abhishek has stepped into his shoes, the very big shoes of Angus Kirkwood. Welcome, Abhishek.
Thanks, Anil, and great to be on the same podium with all the industry stalwarts. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for being here. So let's begin by, we actually breaking this up into three segments. One is on the UI front, second is on innovation, and third is the architecturing of a product. So I'll begin with the UX side, with my colleagues from the industry. Before that, I'd like to just ask each of the panelists who are there here, how are your apps faring these days post the opening up? I'll begin by asking Alok. Alok, are you there? Alok?
Am I audible? Yeah.
Hello? Yeah,
Hello.
you were not audible. So how is the app faring these days? I mean,
I think it's pretty good. I mean, we are seeing, pretty, good attractions, right? And people are, spending more time, they're preferring to, watch more content. So the average time, of spending on the app is increasing. And yes, I mean, compared to, pre-COVID kind of a thing is pretty good.
so are you back to? During the initial period of the COVID, there must have been a big spike. Then post that, as the opening up have happened, are you back to that busy period, or has there been a slowdown?
No, it's still increasing, right? I mean, because we have introduced new content as well, right? So because people has like a more hunger to watch more content because they have now like a spare time, right? So it's still increasing. So we are still in spike. Yeah.
Fantastic, Dave. How's it doing with you all? How's it going with you guys?
So yes, I think after the launch, yes, we did penetrate through the crowd which we wanted to, reach up to. So definitely it's increasing because of I think it's the situation which is actually helping people, getting online, which is actually helping us increase, so there are subscriptions which are increasing, the viewers which are increasing because of the situation. So yes, it is helping.
Yeah. So I'd like to take a pause here before I go on to the next panelist. We've also got Chris from Singapore, from Axido, on the panel with us. Welcome, Chris. I didn't get I think that skipped me. Welcome, Chris.
Oh.
Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm here.
so she works closely with Nikki, and hence Chris Tam is an experienced professional from the ecosystem as well. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Kapil.
Yeah, my pleasure, and my apologies for skipping that part. In terms of so Dave, we were talking about have you managed to build the community that you wanted to through EORTV, or is it
We
very
have
early days
just
as yet?
launched. So yes, so we have just launched. So it is still under
Hello?
process, but yes, I think we are tapping into the crowd we've always wanted to, and yes, it is helping. But after the launch, we definitely need to focus more on the community. So that is where we are looking forward to.
Thank you for that. Rohit, in terms of Array, what are the challenges or what are the changes you'll have seen during the pandemic and post the pandemic, as far as your app is concerned?
Sure. So to be very honest, we spread our content wide enough. It's not merely focused on the apps. So we spread it on our website, our social media channels, which tend to be very popular, and then on things like Amazon Fire TV, right? So in terms of traction on the apps, I don't think we've seen a significant increase. It pretty much stays consistent. But because we've got a lot of users who are logging onto platforms like, say, YouTube or Instagram, we are seeing a lot of traction happening over there. So the app hasn't been the focus, but in terms of content consumption, yes, we have a lot more users coming in. At the same time, we are also dealing with the problem of making sure that in the lockdown, we can create content in a very close setting, because you essentially can't be going out and shooting. So that's another challenge that we're dealing with. What kind of content can you create when you're restricted to a small studio or a closed space? But all in all, I would think that spreading ourselves out across our platforms has helped us.
Thank you for that. Shabuddin, All Balaji is really a massy app, and its stories are very interesting to people in the heartlands. And so how have you all fared through the pandemic and beyond that from a technological perspective?
Yeah, so during the initial stage of the pandemic, it was really a good surge in terms of subscription consumption. It almost went 3x. But as normally it spiked, now it's like coming to a little on the lower side, but there's still a spike out over there. In terms of content production, yeah, we had some content which was already produced with us, and it was post-production, some editing normal work was there. So I think we are still able to launch content. And in terms of technical aspect, we have been used to work in a remote location, so it isn't a challenge. We are able to coordinate and to have the same energy and the workflow and productivity going on. So I think on work-wise, it's the same, I would say.
Yeah, but in terms of, did you face any challenges, any outages, or any, you had to probably, because you started serving your content to many other platforms, not just on your content. The All Balaji content is going across many other platforms. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you'll also integrate with Z5.
So with Z5, we have a content deal, but apart from that, we are not serving on any other platform. Yeah, we have our own multi-platforms, like in terms of multiple screens. We are on iOS, Android, TV, and even on Fire Stick. So that way, we are able to cater at all the platforms, and we never had any outage. It's I think a well-built platform where we are able to scale up to as on demand.
Great. So thank you for that. Samik, from your perspective, as far as the SS Shilpa Shetty app is concerned, I did roll out some numbers. It was good for you. And has it stabilized, or is it still spiking?
So I'll just take a step back, and compared to all the panelists over here, we are quite a bit young. So we have just recently completed a year in the month of May, and to be honest, it has been a dream run for us. So basically, we started with iOS and Android app, and then we have gone on to launch it on different platforms, making sure that users don't miss out their workout on large-scale televisions and devices, basically. Then we have even gone ahead and done integration with the Geo set-top box, which has been one of our prime focus of reaching out to the masses of India. So that is there. And since pandemic, we have launched about 17 programs. So the kind of content which we have created after the pandemic has started is basically mind-led or meditation. So we have seen a lot of people going through anxiety or too much of work, and that is why those 17 programs specifically targeted for mind-led and meditation have been launched. Also, we had this International Yoga Day, sorry, on 21st of June, and we had another 7 programs released. So that is about 7% of the catalog which has been added in the last quarter or 5 months, we can say. And we started with 17 programs, and now we are at about 65 programs. So that has been the content strategy. And after the initial 20% or 30% growth, it wouldn't be as great as an OTT growth, because it is finally into fitness and health, which is a niche category, I would say, and not being followed by many people, or they don't have motivation. And that is where we come into the picture. We want to make sure that we have this world-class yoga application with diet, nutrition, and also functional exercises. So yeah, that has been the story. And in the last 4 months, we have seen 50% growth in the MAU with respect to the Android TV, or the large-scale television launched on Jio set-top box and Xiaomi patch wall.
Fantastic. So any technological hurdles you all face which you had to overcome? Or any product hurdles?
Yeah, we do. I wouldn't say that we don't. We do come across hurdles. And being into fitness and health, we have to be cutting edge, and we have to always calculate calories, for example, while the user is burning out during the workouts. And that is where we need to be updated with, let's say, a Series 6 watch has been launched, and we are already present on the iOS Apple Watch. So basically, that is the kind of technology which we are into. And yeah, that is the hurdle which we are facing, that we need to be updated with the technology all the time.
Fantastic. So Saurya, you've been around for some time now. I think it's about more than a year and a half. Couple of years for Epicon. How old is Epicon now?
A year, and prior to that I was at Z5, so that was for almost 2 years. Yeah, I think
so
for Epicon it has been very interesting. It has been extremely interesting journey, and the numbers during the COVID that we had, and we had seen some 3x to 4x surge. That obviously came down for some time, but again, the kind of V graph that we are seeing right now with our consumption pattern going up is primarily due to the multi-screen that we are present in multiple smart TVs and the devices that most of my fellow panelists spoke. Apart from that, we have also done quite a number of optimization at the back end, where we have worked on 3 seconds to 4 seconds of video play. I think that took a lot of effort from our engineering team to sort of optimize that and then ensure that there is a low latency when the video is being played. Plus, we are one of the first apps on the Android TV and across the whole smart TV ecosystem where we have podcast and as well as video. So that's the innovation that we have done, where the best of the two worlds you will have while opening the TV. You will have both the sides of the world. So if you have a huge amount of fatigue of watching a video, you can just switch over to podcast and then listen to some of the greatest podcasts and storytelling across the genres. So we have done these kind of innovations on the content front, on the tech front, and as well as we have also understood the user needs and how, at what point in time, what kind of content would also go. So we are working very closely and doing a lot of customer listening across the cities, across the cohorts of millennials, age groups, and then trying to understand what kind of content and what kind of technical changes, I would say, from the back end and from the front end that we need to do time to time. I think these kind of minor improvements, or I would say constant improvement on the platform, has helped us to sort of hit our DAU at around 3x to 4x, what we had previously during the COVID also. So we are seeing a consistent growth and hope to see that. And we have a very long content roadmap also, which is very clear for the next 1.5 years. So we are going to follow that and then see how things happen.
Yeah, so now I'll move on to to Rohit. Rohit, in terms of what UX strategy do you think one should adapt to be relevant in the market while creating differentiation through UX? I'd like some insights from you on that.
Sure. So I think a lot of us, there are really two parts to this, right? I think over the past couple of years, internet access has really increased and become easy for a lot of people. So you've got people who come in from, say, the lowest end devices to very fancy phones or laptops who access the internet. Now, all these people are essentially consumers, and the market is also very crowded, which means when you've got a combination of easy access and a lot of applications, people have very little patience, right? So all it's going to take is one bad experience for people to take off from your website and perhaps switch to a competitor. Now, that's the first part. Traditionally, I think when people have thought about UI, I'm not sure if everybody approached UI from a human interaction perspective, right? It probably works this way that I go and say I'd like an interface that is minimalist or that conforms to certain ideas of what I think looks great, and then the UX guy builds that for me. Now, although that interface might tick all the boxes of what makes a great UI or a UX, it's not necessarily geared towards understanding the journey a user takes into the website, right? Now, having said that, I think a lot of us here already have existing products, right? So if you were to start from scratch, sure, the exercise of trying to understand who your target audience is, how they would navigate into a website, right? And what are the potential paths they could take is a good way to figure out how you want to start building your app. But for people like us who already have products, I think it makes sense to start benchmarking and see that in the current state of your app, can you map a user journey? So when a user comes into your website or your app, what kind of path do they take, right? Are there points or are there certain sections of your website or app that are never explored? And so are there blind spots? That's number one. Secondly, a lot of us tend to focus on the core offering, which we should, right? So for example, if I have a site, Steve's, my focus is going to be on making sure there is no lag. But what about the experience after the person is finished watching the video, right? Does he, if he runs into trouble, is the help accessible? Is he recommendations that keeps him on the website for a longer period of time? That's something to think about. So I think mapping your app is very important, and most important, I think, is users today, right, are not going to stop, or rather not going to be accepting your app if there's a problem. They're going to be very quick to tell you that there's a problem and they don't like it. So please take user feedback very seriously, right? Even if you can't please everybody, I think people at least expect an acknowledgement saying that, sure, we know we have a problem, we are working towards it, and here's what we're going to do. So I think these three things put together is possibly a good approach.
Thanks for that. Now, I'm going to ask the same question to Shabuddin. So what UX strategy do you think you should adapt to be relevant in the market while creating differentiation? Remember, you're trying to create a differentiation to the user experience.
See, nowadays users are, it's just not UX, it's a customer experience. When a user comes onto a platform, there is very few minutes, I would say, where he's trying to sample the content. And especially I would talk about Alt Balaji. The strategy we follow is a totally a SWOD platform. So normally first episodes of a show are free, so he's free to sample. At that point, we don't have any intervention or anything that comes between the user's first watching experience, so that he can sample the content and have a first-hand feel of it. Post that, the next content piece which he tries to sample or access, that is where we try to prompt him to subscribe. While I would like to totally align with Rohit, wherein says we need to really listen to our customers and their feedback. At same point of time, when we are designing the UX or the user experience, it has to be more of a empathy. We need to genuinely understand what a user wants, because there is nowadays, I think most of us who align with me, there's a clutter in OTT space. I think we are like 30 or 40 of us in the OTT segment, and there are a lot of content which is around us. What user is looking for a personalized or hyper personalization, where he can look for a content piece which is like a program for him and can consume it in the most easiest way, ease of use, I would say.
Okay, go on. I mean, so that's it.
Yeah, so that's where like it's a user experience which you build around a user's journey, and you can timely, precisely present him the content which user is looking for. And there could be different set of parameters. We capture a lot of data of users' behavior and events that he does around your app while interacting with it, and that can be used as the input pipeline for your recommendation engine. millennials of age group 30 or 20, what they're looking for, what region they are in, what day and time of the day they are trying to browse or access your content, and accordingly a content can be personalized and programmed for them.
Okay. So in terms of what drives consumer engagement as far as the UX is concerned? What drives customer engagement? Is it thumbnails? Is it content? Is it prompts? What drives user engagement?
User engagement, normally when you say engagement, he's already a subscribed user because we are a SWOT platform. Post that, he has to feel worth of his money, what content is being served. It's a trust factor. When a user has subscribed to a platform, it's a trust factor, and we need to give value to his money and accordingly serve the content which is aligned to his usage behavior patterns, what content he was looking for, through which medium he subscribed. For example, if somebody was looking for a comedy content and through that campaign he subscribed to my app, we have to program content in that way through a recommendation engine, that most of the relevant content is programmed him to a timely way and is served in the best of the possible environment, where it's the buffer free feel is given to him and he can easily watch the content.
Okay. So, have you had to make changes in your own in the way you've built your app to improve the user experience, and what changes have you all made? I'm also going to ask this question to others, but beginning with Rohit after this.
Sure. So initially, yes, we did some changes in terms of how we personalize our content, how we have enriched a lot of our metadata basis of like in terms of what kind of a genre it is and the key moments of the videos, and based of it we are able to like pick up if your user is looking for a comedy content, and based on the age factor I can identify, oh, he's looking for he's a age group of 25 to 30 and looking for a stand-up comedy, and according to that we are trying to program content for him. That's one side to it. On the second side, I would like to add is in terms of COVID, especially, we did a little bit of change in our app because we wanted to bring down the bandwidth consumption, because it's totally on ABR, so alternative bit rate, where basis of the connectivity and the speed available, the video quality it adjusts itself, and there was a I think it was input from the GUI that way we need to stick the consumption, and that is where we scale down our videos to SD instead of HD.
Okay, so that's the change. But in terms of navigation, going through did you all make any changes there, or that you all didn't do?
No, it's a very simple, straightforward. As I said, initial when it's an initial engagement, there is nothing that comes between the first user experience of watching a content. There are no pop-ups. User can sample the content, so it's a first-hand feel where there is nothing coming between users watching experience, and
okay,
that's the
great.
standard we have as of now.
Okay, Rohit, from your perspective.
So we are still in the process of doing what I mentioned earlier, right? Our objective is twofold. One is to make sure that we can figure out, what is causing users to leave our website today. So we are in the process of heat mapping the site, figuring out which areas people tend to take off from, right? They come into the website, consume something, and they're gone, right? In this sense, we've made a few changes. They're just incremental changes, nothing big. Simple things like sign up, right? It would seem very obvious that for most websites, you give people the option of signing up with their Facebook or Google account. Now, we didn't have that for a long time. And even signing up with a custom account was a two-step process. So having a single sign-up screen for potential users did have a big change in the way people sign up when they needed to, right? Simple changes like this. Second thing is how content is shown on the web page. So if, for instance, I have a video that a user is watching, having a single line of related content under that works a lot better than having like an infinite scroll layout, which people are never going to bother scrolling to. So we are trying to make these changes step by step, and I think some of them are working in our favor. The others need a little more thought, because I think the other part with UI changes is you can never shock the user into a completely new experience. They get used to working with your platform a particular way, and if they see something completely new, I think you risk losing users who are used to that interface.
Thanks for that. Now I'm going to ask Alok this. Alok, in terms of the UX and the user experience, have you had to make some modifications? Have you had to make changes as your audiences have scaled up?
Yes, we did. We did a lot of homework and all, and we actually come up with a prototype that we're going to we go into development very soon. Even we disclosed this whole design in our last annual event, right? So I'll start with with a misconception that usually it happens that design is is not making a product pretty, right? The colors, the typography, graphics, layout, thumbnails, all these classic elements of visual designs. These actually plays an important role in the overall impact of the experience, but it's just one component of a well-designed product. The main thing is is getting inspired from the people, right? I mean, from the real people. So a design approach, right, which takes inspiration from the real people, which works within the market and target group, and also works within the technological constraint that we have with the platform. And and that approach which considers every product touch points as opportunity to delight the customer. So it's something like in bottom is like you should follow the user, and everything rest will fall in, right? So instead of like a it's all about reduce the barrier for the user, right? So instead of asking that what this, for example, what this element does, right, the correct questions as a brand owner should be that what the user wants this element to do, right? If we can imbibe that that principles of designs, then I think that it creates a great product which actually helps a user.
Thanks for that. I'll go over to Nikki. She's actually been the UX and expert in terms of. So could you share some best practices? And you're down in Sydney, you said, right, Nikki?
I am, yes.
How's the weather out down there now? What time is it?
It is. It's hot. It's 5 p.m., but it's still very nice outside.
Fantastic. Is it time for a beer?
Summer.
Yeah.
It is almost time for a beer. You're right.
Fantastic. So let's get some bubbly and have fun. Down to your experience here. I believe you have something to show us. If you could share that with us and talk about it, it'll be great. Some of the best practices that Excedo has put in place as far as UX is concerned. Love to have you share that.
Absolutely. Are you guys able to see that?
Yes, we are able to see it. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you guys so much for answering some of those questions. I think it's super obvious that understanding our audiences and their behaviors directly impacts the way that they use our products, the way that we need to invest time and money and the things that we need to do to change those products, right? But I think the question often is how do we truly understand our audiences? How can we get to that point where we know our users and we know what their drivers are and we understand the reason that they do things on our product? There's a difference between, I guess, for myself, looking at analytics and seeing what people do, and then understanding why they do it and what their drivers are and the reasons are that they're doing these things on our products. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. I'm going to use a little bit of a case study of a client that I worked with in Australia, and I will hopefully give you guys some insight of what we're doing in this side of the world, and probably hopefully you can take it into consideration for your regions as well. I might just jump in. So the case study client from Australia, our client was SBS On Demand. They are a free ad-funded streaming service that house TV shows, movies, and events. And SBS itself also produces free-to-air broadcast channels. So you may be familiar with them. They are a very, very large name in Australia. So what we really wanted to do with them, we needed to decide whether we should include their 5 broadcast channels on their on-demand platform. So SBS On Demand has all of their catch-up, or traditional OTT service, and they were basically making a decision around whether or not they wanted to have the live channels inside their OTT app or not. And I think that's a really common kind of problem that people are finding. It's a new feature and an addition of such a feature that they don't have right now. And we needed to decide by doing that, what would that change for the users and also for the business? For the users, we needed to know why they would actually watch that digital linear channel on the OTT service instead of just watching their television or instead of just watching VOD catch up? Why would they really watch these channels? And for the business, we wanted to know if adding this feature would cannibalize other viewing. Would we be taking people away from traditional free-to-air where the ad revenue is higher? Would we be taking people away from watching VOD content where, again, the revenue's higher? What is the actual benefit of adding these channels? Should we even do it at all? So these are some really common challenges that we face when building products. And the way that we approached that from a UX perspective was a really wide-reaching study. So we consider research to be a very, very important part of understanding our audiences and understanding our users' behaviors. And for this particular feature, it was a really big decision for SBS to make. So we had to really dig ourselves into a lot of different positions here. So we used an exploratory research method more so than the explanatory, which we would generally say is for something that already exists. So we needed to find out something new, something that we couldn't test that existed already. So to do that, we first of all, we ran some competitor analysis, which I'm sure you guys are all super familiar with. Very, very common way of finding out information about how other people do things and how other people are solving your problem. And we also ran some stakeholder interviews to find out what the people that we were talking to, what they wanted, what the business wanted. And then we did some user testing on some existing products. So this is where we start to get into the really deep kind of side of the insights. We ask people to use different products and record how they use them to get a good understanding of what their behaviors are. And now we did this with SBS's competitors. So we had a look at some of the competitor products that were on the market and how users were actually interacting with the feature that already existed on those products to see if we could learn something from them. Can we do this better? And the biggest part of this study, which we did, was a diary study or a contextual inquiry. You might have heard of it before. And basically what that means is we collect habitual information about people and how they are using their video services day to day in their day-to-day life. So this is a longer term study where we ask people to add a diary entry every time they watch video, and that entry includes a bunch of different items or elements. So they talk about how many channels they watched, what they watched, and why they watched it in that way, where they were, who they were with, and if they had a good experience or a bad experience. And by asking these people to record this really large amount of data, we can get a really deep understanding of how our users are interacting with the products on a day-to-day basis. And this is over a period of a week or 2 weeks long. So we can really be certain that we have a good understanding and it's not just a one-off day for them. We used an online tool to do this, and that was called Recollective, which also allowed us to have kind of an online forum with our participants, and we could have discussion boards, we could set them other daily activities and things like ask them to do card sorting or review some wireframes that we were working on. So we had a really good community of participants for this study where we were interacting with them on a day-to-day basis. This is just an example of what one of the diary entries looked like. So we had over 90 of these actually. So 90 diary entries and close to 500 additional interactions. So people writing comments, discussions on boards, completing activities, and our age range was between 18 and 70. So this was a really, really great study for us, a good understanding of the broad breadth of the users that we had in this cohort. To finish this study, we also did one-to-one interviews with all of the participants. So this was a chance for us to deep dive to face-to-face and gather some more deeper insights into the reasons why they did certain things. We studied each participant and their behaviors before we went into these interviews, and we personalized each interview based on what we knew about them and what they did during the study before. So keep in mind, this was all also during the height of lockdown. COVID had just hit us in Australia and New Zealand. So we were conducting all of this remotely, which brought its own challenges, but also has great benefits now that we've done it, and we can see how this can work for us on a global scale as well. So through a combination of all these research methods, testing, diary study, interviews, we were able to develop 12 large learnings, and that was made up of 68 unique detailed insights and recommendations for this customer. So this is just a huge product roadmap for them. This formulates about 6 to 12 months of work that they can then undertake from a product perspective, which is all backed by user insights and by our user data. In order to do that, to develop all of these insights, we analyzed all of the data that we collected, and we used lots of different pieces of evidence to form each of those insights. So we combined a lot of different insights and data, things like, you know, the chart you can see on the left. We counted how many channels people were watching in a regular basis. We asked them specific information about how they liked to select a channel to watch. And we asked them to give us some suggestions around what they thought a good feature might be. So we collated all of these different types of research, and we came up with these kind of recommendations and these insights which were specific to the product, and they were backed by users. So you can see here that it's not only feature roadmaps, but also we were able to influence the UX KPIs through analytics as well. So we made some suggestions around, for example, track how many users are referring to VOD from the linear channels. So in order for us to make sure this is successful, we need to ensure that people are actually going to VOD from linear channels. And we identified that through our study as well. So imagine this times 68. So that's how many kind of insights we developed for this one product, this one feature, just using this process of research. And these are obviously unique to this audience and demographic, but I wanted to share the type of outcomes that were formed with this practice. And you can start to imagine how conducting your own research in your own region with your own audiences can develop these types of product roadmap decisions. And just to finish off, I wanted to give you guys some quick insights into what we actually found out, some big learnings from doing this research, what we think this might impact for the market. I think this is quite relevant for the Australian market, particularly for broadcasters, but I think it's still, you know, there's things that you guys can still take from it as well as OTT services. We learned that people are still watching linear TV. We are not just looking at a VOD future. Linear TV answers drivers and answers unique user needs that VOD just doesn't. For example, reducing that decision-making time. So we all know when we get stuck into that kind of Netflix black hole where we're scrolling forever and we can't find anything to choose that we want to watch, and that linear channels, they really solve that driver for people, and humans they still have that want and that need. And we decided to take this as a learning because we think that there are things that we can do in our OTT services that can kind of play on this, and we can combine the best parts of what linear TV offers and what video on demand offers. And we see this as well because we do believe that linear has the potential to grow the VOD market. We think that the linear channels, they help to introduce new users into content that they might not have picked before. Maybe they're on a channel and they just happen to watch the next episode and they like it. And from our study, we also noted that people were much more likely to binge watch something that they'd seen the first episode of on linear. They would just, if there was a quick and easy way to get from that linear channel into the VOD, they would watch the whole season. And that was a really common pattern that we were seeing develop. So people are saying that linear TV helps them to discover things that they like. And what that actually means for us then, we do expect to see a bit more of a shift towards flexible linear TV. And this could include some things like maybe virtual channels with unique themes. So think about, you know, stitching your VOD content together to create your own linear channels that answers these drivers for people who are just looking to jump into content that they like. We found that there was a really big interest in things like personalized linear channels. So imagine that there's just a channel that is just for you with all movies that we think you're going to like, and you can jump into it any time and watch those. There was a really big push towards these things, and also doing flexible behaviors with the linear channels as well. Things like start an episode from the beginning or find more episodes on VOD, really combining these two experiences to get the best of both for those users. So personally, I can see a huge opportunity in using these new types of remote research methods, which I spoke about. I think this is the best way to form human-centered product roadmaps. And using these tools, we're not just limited to our geographic location either. We have a really wide reach for audiences across all regions, and that's typically been a really tough challenge for people who are trying to reach their audiences. They're not necessarily there with them face to face. And understanding how these methods can develop insights and then change your products is really the heart of what human-centered design is. So I would love to keep talking forever, but if you guys do have other questions, of course, I'm always around to chat.
Ask a question from what she's just showed you. It's great to have you ask questions, because linear virtual channels is an interesting proposition going forward. My perspective is that Netflix is going to go linear at some stage going forward. They'll go the entire, the way the broadcasters are today. I expect Netflix at some stage growth will stagnate and they will go linear.
I agree. And I mean, yeah, we've seen this trend in people's behaviors, and truly it's the needs and the behaviors of those people that VOD doesn't always answer. It's like when you have news, you have live events, you have programs that people are watching that are progressively released. The VOD experiences just cannot answer that in the same way that linear does. So they're different drivers, and I think they always will be.
Yep. Any questions from you guys? Alok, Rohit, Somik, Abhishek, not Abhishek, because Surya, Dave? You'll buy into the argument that she's put forth, that you've got to use a lot of research to define the user experience. You've got to really, in India, Jugaad. We believe in Jugaad. Am I right?
I'd like to know, do you guys do this at all? Have you had any experience running kind of research projects like this?
Yeah. Silence means no. Oh, yes.
Interesting. So much opportunity.
The user experience which we do is only based on feedbacks and what we, get to know from the market, rather than doing it so organically rich, which you guys are doing.
Yeah. Alok?
You like that idea?
Yeah, it's mostly, based on the user feedback, right? So, like we do, regular, sessions, in-person sessions with the, users to understand, what they want and, how they use it, right? And usually, we don't ask questions. We usually, we usually listen to their experience and try to understand that, what we have to do with the product. So it's more about, it's not about that what we like, probably. Yeah, it's what they like. Yeah,
I understand. Anyone else?
But it's entirely based on user feedback. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's totally user-driven feedback. So having a good base of user, and there's a lot of feedback pouring in. So it's mostly that database we look at, what users are expecting or what they expected from the platform or service, and basis of that, we try to improve, and that's where we implement changes in the platform.
Sorry, no research from your side? Or
you do I think no, yeah, we do the research, and obviously there's no empirical formula to this, but then I was listening to Nikki. Yeah, I think both linear and VOD coexist. So it's like the imagination of the audience or the imagination of the customer at that point in time, which is very spontaneous, that what they want to watch. So I think choices given out to the customer is going to spell out the success. So what kind of choices you want to give, whether through a satellite linear feed or a virtual linear feed or a VOD. So I think it's good to have all the choices given to the customer, and then the customer decides. Yes, we see varied consumption patterns across geographies, across various platforms of our Epicon. But yes, it's good to have all the three formats coexist. I think that's the research till now that spells out as of now.
So because you'll have a delayed live feed, and you'll have broadcast feed, but all the other players like Array doesn't have it, Hoichoi doesn't have it, neither does Shilpa Shetty's app have it, nor does all Balaji have a live feed, if I'm correct. So what do those people do? Are virtual channels a way to go for you?
Yeah, I think people like
appointment. So are virtual channels which will excite you?
Yeah. So taking on to that point from Nikki.
Yeah.
So linear.
Shomik,
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
were you speaking or who was speaking? Or was...
Yeah, I was speaking. Yeah. So taking forward the point from
Yes,
Nikki.
we can hear you.
So we are in, we
Please
are into
continue.
health and fitness. Yeah. Are you able to hear me, or is there a lag?
I think Shomik, you can continue.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lag, but we can hear you.
Lag. Yeah. Understood. So in health and fitness,
we can hear you.
There are different dimensions, and basically everybody is at a different fitness level. And let's say, like, user A starts the workout today, and he's supposed to go to day 2. So the user cannot skip the day 2, and there might be some user who is starting the workout today. So, like, one user is at day 2 and the other user is at day 1. So at times, linear streaming doesn't work for health and fitness until and unless it is, like, some information about health, nutrition in general, or people can watch it over the couch and not actually, like, be on the yoga mat and try working out. So linear streaming we had considered, and we had done a bit of research even before launching the application. So we had spoken to, like, the people who were visiting gyms and physical fitness centers. What was their experience, and how can we match that to a digital platform. So that was the challenge which we were facing, and then that is how the app was created, that to match the best of both the worlds, physical as well as digital, and to ensure that the user completes their fitness journeys rather than leaving in between, which is like the like only 2 or 3% people actually complete programs, and not complete, I mean, rest of them just give up in between.
Did you interview those people, your users, in their gyms?
Sorry?
Did you interview
those people in the gyms?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so that was the input which we wanted to have. Yeah, so, like, what motivates them to go to gym, and what demotivates them to work out at home. So those were the kind of questions which we had asked to the users, and that is how we had built a case study to basically understand what will the user do basically differently at home and not at the gym.
Amazing.
Great. I mean, thanks for that, Nikki. If there's any other questions you want to ask, otherwise we move on to the next section of this virtual roundtable. Any questions, or are you all happy with the explanations given by Nikki and the insights that she has shared, or any insights you'd like to share on from your own experiences, like Soumik just shared? Are we done with that? Great. So now on to this next section. Thank you, Nikki, for that. It was a wonderful insight that you shared with us. Thank you very much. I'll move on to the next session now. Yeah, great. So, the next section of our webinar is about innovation in terms of how do you freshen, the product which is there available to your audiences. How do you layer new innovations onto them? For instance, for India, we have the live streams which she was talking about, but Amazon in the US has started streaming live channels. It's common for us in India, but not over there. So how do we have an entire platform ready so that we can keep adding innovations to them, and what innovations work? And then I'll turn around and ask Alok this question: how do you see innovative services features helping OTT companies with customer acquisition and retention? Alok?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the innovation is which should drive the brands, right? And specifically with OTTs, when we produce a creative content, right? So to stay innovative, we need to stay inspired always, right? So we get inspired with by the people, by the user, other brands, and all the current happenings, in terms of product offerings and all. So innovation is one of the key part, right? And we always try to innovate in terms of say product or the behind the scene kind of a stuff, the way we deliver the content, the way we encode the content, the way we engage people, how we're going to track their behaviors, and what exactly they do when they are actually playing the content, whether we can add something on the player side or not. So yes, I mean, the innovation is something that which shapes the product, and obviously it strengthen the relationship with the user that we have. And being a subscription assured platform is pretty important to engage those people, because I mean, for us, that particular user is already paid and they have already converted. Now it's up to us to meet their expectations and stick to the commitment.
Yeah, one innovation that's stands out, that is really a standout that you'll have done in recent times, which you think is not available elsewhere.
Yeah, so we did a couple of things in during this whole lockdown period. So we introduced the parental control, right? And so that like, because we understand that this whole experience is going to the drawing rooms and all, right? So family wants to watch this content, and we seen that all the family members are actually like having different content for in the same platform. So that is one thing that we introduced, and kind of innovation that we are actually doing right now with the encodings, right? So so you want to have a like a seamless delivery of the videos with low latency kind of a thing, and allowing people to like having a say 5.1 audio on the big screen, and stereo on the mobile handsets and all. So we are doing that.
Great. Rohit, any innovation you guys have done which is a standout?
So, very limited experience in this area, but I'll tell you something that we've tried and experimented with. Right. So we ran a web series a while back, and it was made up of a cast of characters, almost like a reality show. And we tried using a JavaScript overlay. Essentially, as the user is watching the episodes, you can click on a specific user and it gives you a pop-up, right? So that will give you information about that individual, say, social media channels, his biography, photographs, and you can build it the way you want, right? So we tried this for a while, but I think the takeaway from the experiment was that this is a good to have, right? Because it's a minor annoyance that's always on the screen, and the novelty factor wears off pretty fast. Now, I would imagine that in programming, which is say something like sports, people might find that more appealing, where they probably click on that and get stats about the match or the players, and sports fans might want that sort of information. But this is something that we've experimented with. Unfortunately, we've taken it off because we just didn't see that much of traction. But that's pretty much the only new thing we've tried, apart from striving to make the platform as fast as we can.
So innovation for innovation's sake doesn't work really. It has to be a utility thing. That's the lesson you take home from it, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. So Shabadan and Saurya, anything, or Dave, brought some.
I would like to add here, Anil. So basically, in terms of content, so content is nothing like, I would like, in my understanding, it's like a storytelling. How well can you tell a story? And what we have done is like the library or the genre of content we have, we are trying to enrich the metadata. It's a mix of both the worlds in terms of using technology and manual interventions, where we can have more enriched metadata in terms of the character, the keyframes, and the emotions, which can be tagged and which is fed into the system while the user is watching or viewing a content. It can link back to his experiences and accordingly help to plan or program the content for him. That's one side to it. And the other side, we are working on certain small, I would say not major, but small changes in terms of user experience, like adding markers wherein you can identify the content genres and again map back to a user persona.
Okay.
Yeah. So so for us, I think we are definitely catering to the very sensitive part of the society as the LGBTQ community. So I think innovation for us, like obviously we need to be very subtle, and sometimes radical innovations are like disasters. So yes, we are trying to innovate on the design front as well. as well as on the technology. But we are definitely looking forward to the geographies where people are more open, to the concept of LGBTQ community and the content. So innovation on the part of that on the content as well as the approach which we are doing right now.
Okay. Sorry. And Soumik after
Yeah,
that?
so yeah, I think we have done a couple of innovations which have given us some good dividends over a couple of months now. So one is of course the multi-format content that we introduced with the ebooks, podcast, video, and games on the single platform. So that has sort of taken a good surge in terms of the mobile engagement that we have seen. And then the second part of the innovation is of course the smart TV innovation that we have done. And when we know that the cinema to home is going to be the future for next 1 year, we put our head, we did a lot of design thinking, made a lot of UI UX changes, where we thought that how do we make a good experience for the user, whether on a smart TV and mobile, to sort of watch a 2 hours of movie. So I think we put a lot of thought around that. The innovation is still on, and we have done quite a number of changes on our platforms to see how the users are sort of giving us feedback. And we have seen the initial feedback has been really good on the smart TVs, and it sort of inspires us and motivates us to introduce few bunch of more
Great,
innovations.
thanks. Yeah, Soumik?
Yeah, so in 1.5 years of our journey, so we have done quite a bit of innovations, you can say, and tweaks to the product, which is adding value for the users. So I'll start with the player, where most of the time is spent of the user. So again, like taking two users, like user A and user B, they might be at different fitness levels. Now, unlike award service, or unlike the OTT service, we have to take pauses between exercises, because after 10 counts, 20 counts, the user will need to take a break. Now, these two users, A and B, are at different levels of fitness. So obviously, a user who's at a fitter level will require only 30 seconds of pause in between. But the user B, who has just recently started, may want to have 1 minute break. So there is whenever there is rest screen which is coming in between the exercises, you can tap on it anywhere on the screen, and you can increase the pause time in between. So that was one of the small tweaks which we did. Also, then there are other categories of users who don't want to actually watch the entire video. They are like a little at the intermediate level, or expert level, and they just want to know what exercises need to be done. So for them, instead of getting into the video, we have a complete program listed that you need to do exercise A and 10 reps, and then you need to move on to exercise B with 20 reps, whatever, like so that is the kind of that also caters to a different category of users. Then what we saw was that on search bar, people were not aware about yogasana names. So that is a common problem which we have seen, that you wouldn't know a vajrasana, but you would know that you want to do something for your back pain, or something for whatever ailment, or whatever goal you have in mind. So people would search for yoga for back pain rather than a vajrasana, or some other asana which they wouldn't know. So then what we did was, as Shabuddin also said, we started enriching the metadata, and the description was also being considered. And that is how now you can search for yoga for back pain, and you will get individual exercises, individual yogasanas, and also programs related to that particular keyword. So the other innovation which we have done is on the marketing front, and that is basically after observing that people thought that Simple Soulful was an application only for women. So we wanted to change that perspective, and so what we started doing was that for each of the programs, which were like a daily yoga. Now a daily yoga program is for men and women both, and anybody can do basically. So we started with the digital ads by personalizing to males separately and females separately, and also the gender, sorry, the age group which they belong to. So that is the kind of innovation which we have already done. Right now, we are doing what we are supposed to do, going onto different platforms and making sure that the user is conveniently using the application via the Apple Watch, because the user might be in an awkward yogasana pose, and the user might want to control the video playback from there. So that is the kind of innovation which we are doing right now, and the future holds for AR and posture recognition. So since we are a digital instructor right now in the user's life, so we want to make sure that when the user is doing any particular yogasana or any particular exercise, the count and also the posture should be correct for the user, so that the user when is away from us basically, and we need to make sure that the user is completing the workout in the correct way. So that is the kind of
how do you use augmented reality for that? How do you use augmented reality for that?
So
I mean,
we are, so there are engines available in the market which utilize the camera of the user of desktop or mobile also, and also we are thinking about a 360-degree camera view. So for example, if Shilpa is doing, or if any celebrity is doing any exercise, and you want to then basically know the posture from all the angles, then basically those 360-degree videos and the posture recognition will come into the play.
Thanks for that. Any of y'all, I want hands up. What about AR? Are you guys all in favor of AR, VR on OTT? Anyone speak up? Is it Saurya, Alok, Dave?
I think definitely.
For LGBT. It's interesting. Continue, Saurya.
I think AR is the future, as Soumik also mentioned. I think AI backed with AI is definitely going to drive the innovations and the basically the user engagement. The more the immersive the content is, the better is the time spent. So I think right now a lot of OTT players are also taking a dive into the AR piece and then trying to see how much of content they can convert into AR. I think in next 6 to 7 months we will be able to see a lot of AR based content that are going to come into market, and then this is the future, and the millennials especially are sort of looking forward to this kind of content, and it's very interesting to see how we can adopt AR and then convert or get some of the new content or create some of the new content that can keep us ahead of the curve and game. I think that's going to be the decider going ahead.
So how do we see AR coming into play on entertainment content, which all of you are serving? I'm talking about to Alok, to Shabudin and Rohit.
So AR is not in a near future timeline with Hoijoy. So yeah, it's too early to comment.
Yeah, the kind of TG audience, target audiences we have and kind of niche segment we are in, I totally align with Alok. It could help in some feature sets which we can design and plan around, like might be basis on the metadata we can understand the content and train it to understand user gestures, and allow him to do some features as in add to what to favorite or share with a friend or something of that sort. But again, more than it, I think it's still a time to watch that thing.
Rohit?
So we are trying to adopt AR in some of the kids content, so that's there in our plan.
Okay.
So we haven't explored this at all, right? However, having said that, I think we are absolutely open to all possibilities, because whatever seems very futuristic now is probably going to be a reality tomorrow. So absolutely, ears open. Yeah.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, I think yes, we are open to the idea of AR, but I think the kind of so the country we are in, there are so much of technological challenges. We still don't get our 4G that fast. So, so AR needs to work that seamlessly to get that experience, to the audience. So yes, it is on the pipeline, but yeah, there are challenges.
Great. So now, that was interesting. I have Nicholas over here, who's in Sweden. I mean, what time is it there now? What time did we wake you up for this virtual roundtable? Nicholas?
It's not too bad. It's around 9:30 now, so I've been up as normal. Thank you.
Great. So he's the director of innovation at Acido. It's over to you now. That means he's at the cutting edge. He has to serve his clients such as you all, and then be ahead of you all in many ways, or be able to deliver on your requirements. So, Nicholas, do you have anything to share with us right now?
Yes, I will share my screen with you. So it was really interesting to hear all the input from you guys on how you do innovation. It was also quite refreshing to hear from Rohit that you had tried something that didn't work out, because to me that's what innovation is largely about as well. It's about trying something, failing, and learning from it, right? And that's a really important part of it. So it's not something that we should be too scared of, right? But yeah, I prepared a little bit of a presentation here to talk about the importance of staying innovative, and also showing some examples of how we work at Axido to create differentiating use cases and features for our customers. So, I mean, you're all aware that the online video industry, as you mentioned, most of you, it's still growing rapidly. There's a lot of moving parts, and this also means that there's a lot of room for innovation. So innovation for me is not something that you sit down and do every once in a while. It's a constant feedback loop, really, which helps balance your brand's relevancy in this constantly changing world. So if you think about all the moving pieces that sort of affects your business decisions, you can think about how quickly they changed, like adapting to changes in user habits or changes in the market, changes in competitive landscape, as well as all these new technologies that are coming out. There's a lot to deal with, right? And it can feel really overwhelming unless you make it like part of your daily process to take into consideration these things. So today we're going to talk a little bit about 3 important things that I think that you can do to stay on top of the constant changes around you. It's about knowing your users, adapting to the way that your users are changing their behaviors, and also embracing technology that your users love. So first of all, how do you get to know your users? So I think our panelists and Nikki have a lot of experience with getting to know your users, but I'm going to reiterate it because it's really the key. It's important. You need to talk to them, right? So an example of what we did was to conduct a field study. We did it not too long ago to investigate how users respond to thumbnails specifically. What we found was that while there are common traits with regards to engaged users, there are also different user categories which have different preferences, right? So most users prefer intrigue and emotions in terms of engagement. It shows us that thumbnails with human beings in them are often more engaging than thumbnails without human beings in them. We also found some users responded better to like quirky or fun motifs, while others prefer more traditional. There isn't like a one-size-fits-all, but rather a few different user segments with different preferences.
Nicholas, let me tell everyone to mute their microphones because you're echoing a lot. Can everyone mute their microphones, please?
Thank you. So I was recently browsing a huge archive of episodes for a house hunting reality show that I watch. And I realized that all the newer episodes have really nice curated thumbnails, as you can see on the left. But all the older seasons had episodes with automatically generated thumbnails with seemingly like no quality control, as you can see on the right. So I found this to be a pretty telling example for many aspects, not least the fact that if you don't have quality thumbnails, your service is going to look pretty cheap and unprofessional. So it's important to stay on top of everything, right? And also, if you can combine that with learning what your users respond to, it will help you drive views and engagement for sure. So based on the learnings from this user study, that different users like different types of thumbnails, we built a concept where we generate a number of different types of thumbnails per episode, where we use machine learning to find great moments from each clip. And then we serve different users with different thumbnails depending on their preference. So we make sure that they get a personalized experience even down to the thumbnail level. So I think it's a nice example of why it's important to get to know your users. Because if you know your users, you're going to be able to identify features that you can build to provide like the best possible service for them as individuals. So yeah, next let's look at how we can adapt to what users want rather than forcing them to adopt to what we are currently offering, right? So we also spent a lot of time looking at how do users consume video. And it's probably not surprising to you, but it turns out that one of the major competitors for an OTT video service is actually not other OTT services, but rather social media video. Especially in the younger demographics, they are far more engaged with social media video than with OTT video. So why? Well, every time you open TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat, there's something new. Content continuously is being refreshed, which keeps the service feeling fresh and exciting, and once you will want to come back to that, right? Second thing is social media videos are usually short, so the user does not have to invest a lot of effort into watching a clip. But since clips are so easy to engage with, this opens up for binge watching, which will keep the user engaged for a long time, right? And binge watching is very good for stickiness. And lastly, since content is so easy to consume, you keep coming back many times in a day to sort of snack on some video clips. So of course you watch Instagram videos or Snapchat videos many more times than you open up an OTT service to watch something. So I'm thinking, like, as an OTT video service provider, what can we learn from this, and what can we do to attract the social media generation to use our app more? And one thing that my team is currently working on in our lab is the ability to transform traditional video content that OTT services usually provide into these snackable types of content similar to video found on social media. So we're using machine learning, video recognition to detect different scenes in TV shows. Then we automatically try to cut those scenes into smaller pieces, add like a micro intro, micro outro, and package these clips in a way that works for on-the-go viewing. So by doing this, we can actually take 16:9 video, package it into a format and a user experience that the social media generation know and love, which is portrait video. So showing standard 16:9 content in a portrait video player doesn't usually look very good, but there are ways to fix that. So in our concept, we are following the characters automatically to create a seamless portrait version of a traditional video, sometimes even cutting the video into like a split view to be able to show dialogue that otherwise wouldn't fit on a portrait screen. And we use machine learning to track multiple faces and other objects of interest continuously throughout the video to be able to crop it so that the most important parts of any scene fits on the screen, even if the device is held in portrait mode. And we also found that if we have this type of video, then we can build a new type of user experience, a social media type user experience, to help users discover new shows and new series to follow in any service, but using a design language that they are familiar with. So I think exploring like how to cater for changing user behaviors can help you deliver a user experience that will set you apart. It will help engage your users. And it's important to not be afraid to look at and learn from other services that are maybe seemingly not direct competitors, but they're out there and your users are using them. Look at what they're doing, how they're stealing your users from you. It's a really good way to break new ground. So to finish up, let's talk a little bit about how new technology can be used. And we mentioned AR right before I started talking, and I think that's good because I will be talking about AR specifically. I think it's a good example of a new technology that's available to billions of users all over the world, but it's rarely used by media services. So what we took a look at is, okay, well, how can we lower the threshold for users and for service providers to integrate it? We wanted to make it really simple to offer AR experiences within video apps. So we created this seamless way to load and integrate AR content alongside video in both native and web-based apps. So in this demo of an imaginary tennis tournament, by tapping our AR-enabled thumbnails, we can take users to an AR experience instead of a video details page. Because we believe that AR can help engage users in many ways. One of them is through education. So right here, we're showing the composition of different types of tennis courts and how their properties affect the way the game is played. Another way to use AR is to try to put a smile on your user's face, allowing them to engage with your brand through social media filters. So if we can offer fans of a sport or of a TV show to be part of the experience themselves, we might be able to turn them into promoters of your content. So they might actually be sharing themselves using your filters on their social channels. So here you can see me trying out one of the filters that we built for this concept, which gives me a headband with the tournament logo. Some tennis balls are flying around, and I can take a snap and share this photo with my friends, spreading the brand to my social circles. And then another good way to make use of AR today inside video apps is through commerce or sponsored content. So we are showing here the ability to configure a watch in real time right in the video app in a way that's very tactile and fun for the user. So this product is fully interactive. Users can configure colors and properties of the watch just the way they want it. And once they're done, we can actually let the users interact with this watch in augmented reality to make the product come alive for them. And all of this is done without leaving your app or without leaving your website, which I think is very important. So there are opportunities with AR today. It's just the tip of the iceberg of what kind of experiences can be embedded with AR. And I think it shows that emerging technology might have some uses that you don't immediately recognize within a video service. And I think there's also a misconception that AR is very bandwidth heavy, because virtual reality is very bandwidth heavy, but augmented reality doesn't need to be. So in markets like India with a widely available 4G network, but maybe not highest quality everywhere, AR is still a viable solution if you design your experiences correctly. So yeah, I mean, important things that should help you focus your innovation is get to know your users, adapt to them, and embrace their favorite technologies. I think that's my key message here today. Anil, you are muted.
Fascinating. I mean, in terms of giving a different version of the same video to the millennials. What do you all think about it and using AR? So that they can share it. They can. What do you all think of that? Do we see utility for that in India? Unmute yourselves, all of you. Yeah.
Yes, I think on the user perspective, yes, those AR can be beneficial. Yes, it will engage the people more with the app. You know what all innovations they can do within the app. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Anyone else on the?
I think the relevance
Yeah.
is primarily on the short videos. I think the short form content definitely will get amplified with such kind of AR intelligence that Axeda has built in. So definitely there's a great amount of uptake opportunity from the short video point of view. I think shorts, that's where I see the immediate application being there.
Fantastic. Soumik Shabadan. Hello.
Yeah. So yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, actually I missed out, and we have actually experimented with the AR filter on Instagram also. So it was about you taking a challenge as to which yoga you should be doing. So there is the slate on your head, and then you can basically see those names coming up, and whenever you blink, basically that particular yoga you are supposed to do. So that was one of the social challenges, and the Instagram filters which we have already tried with the Shilpa Shetty app. So yeah, Nicholas, yeah, I mean, it is good to know that we concur on that innovation part, and we have used it already.
By the way, his cap is not AR; it's a real cap. So at times he was fooling.
Yeah.
So actually, we can go on forever on this aspect. If there's any questions, because 1:30 was a cutoff, but I still have one more section to cover. So any questions to him quickly, or any sharings you all want to do? Great. So now we'll move on to the final. Thank you, Nicholas. That was fantastic. I loved it. I don't know. I'm quite excited about the possibilities of innovation in this area.
Thank you, Anil.
So, sorry.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Totally my pleasure. So the final session is, going to go what's at the heart of the OTT, the architecture of the tech stack. How should you, build? How do you build your OTT? Is it flexible? Because when you start building it, you're probably focusing on a couple of platforms, and you're having many vendors who are actually helping you build it. How do you ensure that you don't have to right from the get-go you're ready to be able to be future ready? in terms of architecture, in terms of scalability. So therefore, I'm very happy to have Abhishek here to talk to us about that. Can you share with us how OTT services providers can architect a scalable solution to handle complexity of a multi-partner, custom, integrated environments? Abhishek.
Sure. Thanks, Anil, and I hope everyone can hear me clearly. So yeah, I think we all would agree to the fact that any OTT service can grow into a fairly complex ecosystem pretty quickly. As soon as you decide to scale up your presence, your user base, your distribution, and this can mean having like almost 50 to 20 complex partner integrations. Be it with your OVP, be it with your analytics service providers or recommendation engines. And it's not to mention onboarding so many content partners as we see today, which come with their own set of custom integrations, with their own business commitments that you may have towards them and whatnot. So, just for example, we see a lot of focus today on content aggregation, which are leading to the concepts like app in app, or what we call the super app today. So what we're saying here is that in order for your service to be consistently running, it is essential that all the third-party systems and integrations which are part of your service also need to be pretty much alive and perfect all the time. Which, as we all know, and a number of panelists agreed at the start, that it's not the reality most of the times. We are always facing that challenge and trying to adjust to those challenges. I think this takes us to a very important point, and that the philosophy that we normally follow, here at Exero, when we are a prime system integrator partner for any of our prime customers. I think the whole idea is the OTT systems today, they need to be architected to cope with failures. The systems, as we see, even today being designed to work in a particular fashion. Let's say they need to follow a particular flow. With almost like a mentality of everything works perfectly. Which may set us up for failure, especially when we are doing those live events, when we are doing those game shows, reality TV shows for that matter, which are like critical junctures, and you can't have any fallouts in terms of your service streaming. So hence the challenge is basically which lies in making our core systems and solutions flexible enough to ensure that if during one event any of the third party systems go down, probably it should have minimal or almost no impact on the ongoing live event, right? Or what we can say here is that the system recovers almost automatically as we got failover mechanisms pre-built in. So this entails creating redundancies in the systems, and we may not be only talking about the geo redundancies here. We are also talking things like AV switchover capabilities to ensure live events are not impacted. Just giving an example, like if you have a recommendation engine which is populating some of the rails for you on the home screen, and you are actually broadcasting a live cricket event. So does it make it might fail or maybe add adversely to the app loading times if during that live event your recommendation engine shows a slow response because of the huge surge of traffic. So the thoughts here is have you built those redundancies in place? Have you built the architecture in a more flexible way where just a thought here, why not proactively switch off a third-party module dynamically from over the cloud just before an important live event happens? This may reduce chances of failures. This can optimally enable you to utilize system resources to deliver, which is the most important aspect of your service at that point of time, which is the live event, and probably basically dynamically switch it back after the live event is over. So we know that there are, and everybody would agree that there are monitoring solutions today, which send you an alert as soon as a failure occurs. Not only with your own APIs, but also with your third-party APIs as well. But we see that those are primarily maybe reactive approaches. But what we are talking about here is basically to architect a complex solution right at the time of incubating a system, taking into consideration all these possibilities of integrating so many partners tomorrow, not only on the content side but also on the third party tech stacks or the modules that you want to build in. Like I would assume, like most of you would be using multiple solutions for each of those modules today. Probably like you have like 2 to 3 analytic solutions integrated into your into your service today. So I think so it's very important to envision that situation, which you may hit 6 months or a year down the line when you start scaling up your service and your content portfolio. And you take those decisions in terms of architecting the solution in a flexible way right today. And at Excedo we work with our customers towards building these flexibilities in their systems using some of our cloud-based configurational platforms and frameworks. And if we look today as the variety of the customers we have, including telcos, broadcasters, pay TV operators, the approach may be different, wherein we deep dive into understanding each of those unique systems and ecosystems. But the end objective is basically to achieve what we call a robust and flexibly architected solution, which is also easy to manage and scale over time. It may not be a future-proof solution for next 5 years for you, but I think it should really serve you well, at least in the near to mid-term, so that you don't end up like making those kind of patchworks, or we call, or maybe like adjusting to the changing business situations and business environments in the very short term. So I think it's very important to take a very holistic approach to system, see what the future lies, what's the business vision, where the service is expected to be maybe 12 months down the line, and architect the solution today right at the incubation, so that all those the challenges which come with scale can be easily managed by the system.
In the Indian ecosystem, all of you guys, I mean, Alok, Saurya, have you all really thought this through right from the start? Or are we doing jugaad all the time? Or some of the time?
I think from the advent of the services, we have always envisioned a common USP, or the most important USP is 3-tap playing. So customer only has to three times tap the buttons, and then the video should play. So that's the common logic that we have followed. But to do that, there are 3 important parts that we have sort of evangelized it, and also it's completely Bible for us, is that how do we sort of do a proper compression of the videos, then do architectural change at the cloud level, then at a CDN level, and there are a whole lot of bunch of scripts that we keep on writing on a weekly basis to sort of optimize all of these experiences for the user. But apart from all of this, what we hold very true for ourselves is that the data, the platform, the content, and the technology, all these 4 have to go hand in hand. So at any point in time, whatever architectural change we do, this has to be aligned to these 4 pillars of our success. Because if technology is scaled up, does it really help us in managing millions of buckets of data? So the answer is no. Then we have to align that. Then we have the users also to sort of handle. So we sort of do any sort of innovation keeping these 4 pillars at any point in time. We do a cloud level optimization, we do a video level optimization, search and discovery, which is the most important part for the user to sort of engage within the platform. We do optimization on a regular basis to auto scale that. So we have individualized, we have sort of thought it before launching the product, and we at any point in time sort of take precautions not to have outages or not to have any sort of breakdown. I think that's the forward thinking that most of the serious players would be doing at this point in time.
Okay, Alok and Shabadin.
Yeah, so this is something that we planned early, right, regarding the infrastructure and the technology stack, right? The way we see it, technology is not a challenge anymore. So the scalability, right? Because we are on multi-cloud, so scaling up the resources whenever it needs is not a challenge, right? but the kind of principle that we follow is decoupled everything, right? So that every element of the solution should be connected to a story, right? And it should be decoupled. So whenever if required, we can replace it or we can drop it. Right? So when it comes to say a fault is happening, right? So it might happen that we can drop something in order to mobilize that resource to a certain.
Can you guys mute yourself? If they're going too much. Can you guys look? If they're going too much. Yeah, just mute yourself when he speaks.
Yeah, I think it's good. So, that is a part. Like infrastructure is, where we do a lot of innovations, right? When it comes to encoding, or DevOps pipelines and everything. It's just we don't see any immediate challenge because everything is available. It's just find out the correct and relevant tools which we want to go for. And when it comes to delivering the content or running the applications or uptimes, we don't see any immediate, don't face any immediate challenge. But what we have, deliberately done, because we are engaged with multiple partners and multiple vendors for different solution stack, right? So since the very beginning, what we have done, that we have owned the monitoring and incident reporting part, right? So it doesn't matter how many partners and how many external APIs or vendors we use. But the monitoring and the incident reporting is something that we own, and we always do from our end.
You'll have fail-safe procedures in place here. Supposing something goes down. Yep.
We do have that. That's why I mentioned, right? Like having a decoupled approach, right? So the platform should be flexible enough that if at any point of time you could decouple the one component, either you drop it if required or you replace it with something else.
What about Shabadan? Can you unmute yourself, please, first?
Yeah, definitely. See, at the planning level, the architecture is very well scaled, and obviously we are on like cloud, as Alok added. Most of us are multi-cloud, and it's auto scalable, and there is hardly any effort required on that front. When it comes to like in terms of, I would say, using those technologies in terms of re-architecting, when especially COVID gave us a very good, I think, learning experience where we hasn't expected, we won't be able to coordinate, work closely with our team, especially when it comes to production. So we had to set up a lot of pipelines wherein the content could be ingested from very narrow bandwidth. And we did a lot of re-architecting at those pieces, especially on CMS front, content uploading, though rest transcoding, everything happens online. I think the other piece to it, what I would say, is cost optimization, I would say, in terms of re-architecting, where we can use technology, like having the data which we have available with us in terms of the CDN and the delivery part of it. We have got multiple CDN partners, and we see our partner A has what kind of a delivery percentage and versus B, and basis of that you can decide your route of content gets delivered through which pipe. You are on mid, I guess.
I know, I guessed as much. Yeah. So anyone else wants to add to this, or any other points of view? Otherwise, I can ask Abhishek another question, and then we can move on from here. You have been working with many OTT service providers and video service providers. So how can an OTT strategize? We don't know what's coming tomorrow. Like, we don't know what's coming tomorrow, and plan for a multi-platform approach also, launch of their services for India. For instance, when we began, India was a mobile first country. Now we are going towards a living room experience. We are going towards voice activation, voice commands, etc. So how do you plan for the future? How do you strategize?
Yeah, I think answer would lie a lot in the business objectives and vision. Frankly, in India, as you rightly said, we have seen that mobile and especially Android is a de facto. So you normally go about launching your service first on the Android mobile platform, and then the other platforms actually follow. So and if you talk of the long tail, I think there are like endless distribution platforms to cover for, and then you go about sequentially launching your service on all those platforms. I think, but we need to, ask some questions, to ourselves, whether are we always building a service for the masses? Because masses are there where like Android is, so probably like that's the reason why India is in India, anything that you launch, Android becomes a de facto. So are you really launching a service for the masses? Probably not. Probably yes. So I think that should definitely give some indication in that direction. On which platform is my TG today, let's say for example, and where is they are gonna be 3 years hence. And 3 years is like pretty long duration that we are talking about. COVID has actually shown that this transition can happen at a very short period of time, in a matter of months. Does the content actually suit the platform, and the consumption pattern? If your service is primarily focused on the long form of content, which is like movies or maybe episodic content, does it really make sense to prioritize the 10 feet experience along with your mobile platform experience? Like probably launching an Android mobile application and an Android TV platform, simultaneously, without any gaps. Because that's where your content is expected to be consumed, significantly. So I think when we talk about prioritization of the platforms, these are very important aspects. Like if you're gonna go live on 10 plus platforms without even thinking about prioritization, where should I be and where should I be not? And I think then you are really talking about managing and supporting these platforms on a day in day out basis. You need that time, you need that cost. It's a huge challenge in terms of managing these platforms, managing the upgrades of your applications on each of these platforms, and on a day-to-day basis. So we're talking of huge costs, both in terms of time and money. So the end goal primarily, as we see, is revenue potential per platform, right? So which platforms to prioritize? You may have your analytics, market trends, platform popularity that may give you some kind of indication and towards that decision making. In addition to your business objectives and vision. Just stating an example here, one of our telco customers, in Asia, they have only 900K set-top box users, right, as compared to 4 million plus users on the mobile platform. But the profit per user, or the revenue per user that they generate from the set-top box platform is significantly higher as compared to a mobile user. So does it really make sense for that customer in that region to launch a mobile app first, just because probably that is a de facto? I think these are some questions which can really help us answer those, and help us, making those decisions. And I think the other aspect of this question, Anil, is, in order to support that gradual multi-platform launch, the systems, the backend systems should be capable to support those dynamic configuration or profiling over the cloud for each of those platforms. Because at the end of the day, once the platform gets launched, you have your editorial teams and support teams managing those platforms over the cloud, and there should be support for multiple forms of content types, long form, short form, highlights, trailers. You may follow a long form strategy on a 10 feet experience like an Android TV app, but you might be providing or repurposing that content for the mobile platform. So your backend platform should be capable of managing all those types of content types as well. And also in the end, like the editorial capabilities, as I mentioned, which through which you can actually control the experience on each platform dynamically over the cloud, which in a way significantly reduces your app upgrade cycles, because at the end of the day, you're gonna be live on 8 to 10 platforms in the specifically in this market if you talk about. So the whole objective is to how can I basically prioritize platforms and use the cloud ecosystem to minimize my app upgrade cycles and brings overall maintenance costs down. Because at the end of the day, what happens is like your maintenance cost is very much focused towards where your TG is. So you in the Indian market, for example, you might put a lot of your energies, time and cost into managing Android application, but probably your LG WebOS app or maybe an Android TV app may be like having an upgrade cycle of 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or even maybe longer. So I think it's very important to ensure that your platform strategies are well in place from prioritization standpoint, as well as your backend system readiness, just to ensure that once you get down to managing those platforms post launch, you are focusing your energies, time, and cost in the right direction. Sorry, Anil, seems you are on mute.
Nasty, this thing. I mean, you have to keep on unmuting yourself, otherwise you keep getting echoing. So, Soumik, you're pretty new in this game. You've been 1.5 years. So, in terms of a multi-platform strategy, where are you at currently? You have to unmute yourself too.
Oh, really sorry about that. So we had started with iOS and Android as a smartphone applications, and then we gradually moved on to Android TV, and we are also there on Amazon Alexa. So there's a skill called Shilpa Shetty, and that is basically for the voice-led device where people want to meditate or get into mind-led programs and then do something within 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So we are already live since October on that. And as I mentioned earlier, we are also live on iOS Watch. So basically, that is the strategy which we are which we have developed. That first is that you go to the smartphones, then the TVs, then the voice devices, and also fitness devices. And then obviously the next is Roku or Chromecast or Fire TV kind of devices, which will help us get to the audiences which we have not been able to tap right now. So that is a simple strategy which we are using.
Fantastic. So in Shabuddin, you're practically everywhere, I would presume. You're on the Geo, you're on everywhere.
Yeah, just trying to give a seamless experience to users across the platform and devices.
So how many would there be? What, 25 different platforms?
No, not 25. The number have decreased recently because we have limited certain partnerships. We have stopped content syndication in the recent past, and post that the numbers have come down. So it's around below 20-ish.
Okay, but that's also a sizable number. How do you optimize and how do you make sure if you get your app updates, etc.?
So as Soumik was rightly adding, it's we have planned cycles for each of the app, and we look at the target audience and the user base on each platform. Basis of that and the consumption pattern, we decide the features which need to go on each platform. So it's not necessary what I do on web might be for a search engine optimization, has nothing to do with any other platform. So basis of that, we decide feature sets and decide the release cycles.
Great. What about Alok?
Yeah, so I mean, we are making content since last 26 years. So we always believe that content should be watched on large screen. So when we launched our service, we launched with three large screens like Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku, right? And then we come up with the Fire TV, and now we're on LG, Samsung, right, and other set-top boxes like Jio and all, right? Xiaomi TV, OnePlus TVs, and all. So that's the that's the large the TV is an integrated part of this whole strategy, right? And as Shabuddin has said, right, we always have a specific story attached to a certain platform, right? And the way we manage the release cycles and all, not all features goes to every platform for obvious reasons. So it entirely depends. But yes, the Android mobile phone cycle is pretty frequent, because there we have seen that most of the people are getting converted. But what we've also seen from our users that say for example Fire TV, right? So we have seen most of our viewers are preferring to watch our own Fire TV, and they prefer to watch on large screen.
Great. Sorry, and Rohit, and then after that Dave.
I think the smart TV is definitely the good spot to be there, and the kind of growth that we are seeing around 30-35 million smart TVs, growing to that level from a mere 2 to 3 million. I think that's the game that that is right to be played at this point in time. And our strategy has been very simple: is that we see high amount of consumption on the Android, so our maintenance, our innovations, and our overall updates are on a high frequency on the Android app. And then of course the iOS comes second, and we are present in Roku and Apple TV. But yes, prioritization happens based on the kind of the user base that we have. And what we feel also that apart from all this game of urban users, we also have a strategy to get into the hinterlands, where we are getting into Geo iOS phone also, where the base is around 200 million, and we feel that there is a great amount of opportunity and user which is untapped right now. So we are also looking at how do we also have the bottom of the pyramid and top of the pyramid both covered. Yes, at the right time and with the right cost and revenue model being in place.
Thanks. So Rohit and Dave.
Sure. So with Array, right, we end up syndicating a lot of our content to existing OTT players, right? That's how we spread it, apart from the social media channels that I said earlier. And I think Abhishek touched on a lot of the important points. We at one point tried to evaluate TV manufacturers to figure out what it takes to build an app for them. And it turns out that this market is extremely fragmented. Everybody has a distinct, software bundle that you need to work with, and that probably takes a distinct set for each platform. And when you put
sorry, mute yourself, please. Mute yourself, please. Apart from Rohit.
Okay. So, so since all of these manufacturers have very, distinct platforms which you need to use to build your app, this means an investment in trying to get skills which are specific for that particular platform. And launching is only one part of the equation, right? You have to maintain all of these apps in the long run. So all of these costs really add up. So as of now, we focused our energies on making sure that our mobile user base sees our content through syndication across whatever apps they may have. And in the future, we'll consider it. But I just wish that different manufacturers could kind of come together and work on a common interface that benefits everybody. But I'm not sure when that's going to happen.
I wish that's what true, man.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So practically everyone, wishes that were true. But any other points you'd like to add, Abhishek or anyone on the panel, or we can call it a wrap? It's been close to 2 hours now.
No, I think it's great to see strategies and being adopted by everyone. And I think just like Soumik just mentioned about how they've gone with Alexa and prioritize Alexa as a platform for, because it makes a lot of relevance for the fitness industry and the way they would be interacting with the device. So I think things like this really takes us in a direction where we are able to serve the TG where they are exactly, which in a way end up monetizing the user base on that platform. So the whole objective is basically to hit the nail at the right spot right at the start, and so that you are able to manage costs and manage the distribution more effectively once you are live on so many other platforms. So I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Chris has been very silent. So 3 best UX practices, please, before we part.
Thank you. Well, I think the most important thing is you have to know your user really well. Do a lot of spend money on research, please, because a lot of times, right, I talk to a lot of our clients and bosses say, yes, they know their clients, but when you do the job, right, on the front end, we realize that you might not know who you are designing for, because there's no one app that actually does and fits everybody. There's no such thing. If you can see, every app is trying to be as perfect as possible, being this as user-friendly as possible. But as a UX designer, we're trying our best to create the apps to please everyone, including the bosses as well. So know your users well, do good research, and the rest leave it to the designers. Thank you.
Fantastic. Nicholas and Nikki, any last words before we call it a wrap? Or any of y'all, any last words? No last words? Nicholas, anything to say before we part?
Just it's
But I'd
been
like-
a really interesting discussion to listen to. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Anil. Thanks for enjoying, and thanks to everyone on the panel. Thanks for sparing your time for this session. Makes a lot of relevance to us as well when we speak next. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Shabuddin. Thank you, Soumik. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Rohit. Thank you, Surya. Thank you, Alok. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Nikki. Goodbye, and thanks to the audience for being tuned in for so long. And have a wonderful day, wonderful night wherever you are, and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, and goodbye to all of you all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Stay safe. Yeah, bye.